Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Jaya Radha Govardhana Radha Govardhana Shri Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Giri Govardhan Krishna Balaram Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Jai Gurudev Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paripachakacharya Srila Astutar His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Yamuna Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai All glories to the symbol devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the symbol devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the symbol devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. So Hare Krishna, today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 17, which is entitled The Victory of Hiranyaksha, and we are reading text 15. So I'm just filling in for Ajita Prabhu. I was just informed yesterday afternoon by Daksha Prabhu. He said that Ajita Prabhu had a meeting with some council members for the new temple, so he was called away. So I'm just a fill-in, so please bear with me. I'll try to speak something that is beneficial for all of us. I'll just repeat what I've heard and read from Srila Prabhupada and his followers. So I seek the blessings of all the devotees that for our purification we can hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rispanyamscha mahotpatan Atatatva vida praja Brahma putran rite bita Menire Vishva Samplavam Rishvanyamscha Mahotpatan Atattattva Vida Praja Brahmaputran Rite Bita Menire Vishva Samplavam. Prabhus. Vishvanyamscha Mahotpata Atattattva Vida Praja Brahmaputran Rite Bita Menire Vishva Samplavam. Ladies, Vishvanyamscha Mahotpatan Atattattva Vida Praja Brahmaputran Rite Bita Menire Vishva Samplavam. Vishvanyamscha Mahotpatan Atattattva Vida Praja Brahmaputran Rite Bita Menire Vishva Samplavam. Word for word. Drishtva, having seen. Anyan, others. Cha, and. Maha, great. Utpatan, evil omens. Atattattva vidaha, not knowing the secret of the portents. Praja, people. Brahmaputran, the sons of Brahma, the four Kumaras. Rite, except. Pitaha, being fearful. Menire, thought. Vishva Samplavam, the dissolution of the universe. Translation. Marking these and many other omens of evil times, everyone but the four sage sons of Brahma, who were aware of the fall of Jaya and Vijaya and of their birth as Diti's sons, was seized with fear. They did not know the secrets of these portents and thought that the dissolution of the universe was at hand. Please repeat. Marking these and many other omens of evil times, everyone but the four sage sons of Brahma, who were aware of the fall of Jaya and Vijaya and of their birth as Diti's sons, was seized with fear. They did not know the secrets of these portents and thought that the dissolution of the universe was at hand. So that word portents is referring to the omens, evil omens. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, the laws of nature are so stringent that it is impossible for the living entity to surpass their enforcement. It is also explained that only those who are fully surrendered to Krishna in Krishna consciousness can be saved. We can learn from the description of the Srimad Bhagavatam that it is because of the birth of two great demons that there were so many natural disturbances. It is to be indirectly understood, as previously described, that when there are constant disturbances on the earth, that is an omen that some demoniac people have been born or that the demoniac population has increased. In former days, there were only 2 demons, those born of Diti, yet there were so many disturbances. At the present day, especially in this age of Kali, these disturbances are always visible, which indicates that the demoniac population has certainly increased. To check the increase of demoniac population, the Vedic civilization enacted so many rules and regulations of social life, the most important of which is the Govardhana process for begetting good children. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna informed Krishna that if there is unwanted population, Varna Sankara, the entire world will appear to be hell. People are very anxious for peace in the world, but there are so many unwanted children born without the benefit of the Govardhana ceremony, just like the demons born from Diti. Diti was so lusty that she forced her husband to copulate at a time which was inauspicious, and therefore the demons were born to create disturbances. In having sex life to beget children, one should observe the process for begetting nice children. If each and every householder in every family observes the Vedic system, then there are nice children, not demons, and automatically there is peace in the world. If we do not follow regulations in life for social tranquility, we cannot expect peace. Rather, we will have to undergo the stringent reactions of natural laws. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nam Om Vishnu Padaya Bhutale Srimad So, in this purport, Prabhupada speaks very heavily about demons, children born as demons, and he refers to demons. So, in this age of Kali, we understand Prabhupada was also understood that in this day and age, we all have this demoniac mentality and we have the divine consciousness. So, it was also mentioned in previous classes that there are 2 dogs fighting. Bhakti Tirtha Swami often would mention this example from the metaphors or analogies in Africa. They would talk about 2 wild dogs and then they would fight. So you'd wonder which one would win, and the answer is the one that we feed the most. So within our heart, it's compared to like 2 dogs fighting. So the one we feed the most, the good qualities, that's the mentality that will win over. And Prabhupada mentions here in this purport that the omens of evil times, the potent, is in this age of Kali, which is full of false, there's so many evil omens happening. And it says there that it's because that indicates that there's an increase in the demoniac mentality of the people. So the Vedas are authorized sacred ancient Vedic texts that are coming down directly from the Lord. So these Vedic texts are non-different from Krishna himself, these scriptures, and they are like the guide, the manual for this human machine. As we all understand that we are spirit soul covered by this physical material body, but we are not this body, we are actually spirit souls, and our nature is Satchid Ananda. We are eternal and we are full of bliss, and we have knowledge because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Just like a drop of salt water from the ocean is the same nature, it's salty compared to the vast ocean. So we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And also, while mentioning the Vedas, I'll take the opportunity to mention that Bhadra Purnima day is coming up shortly, and Chitralekha is trying to push forward everyone to distribute and to take Srimad Bhagavatam at home. So we have the Srimad Bhagavatam sets, and there's just a few days left. So we take this opportunity to get this manual that will guide us on our journey in this material world or we can gift this Srimad Bhagavatam set to a friend, or we can sponsor it. Just like last year there was a family, a couple from Dubai, they sponsored a Chaitanya Charitamrita set, and we'll be gifting that to one of the libraries, the Tweed library. So hopefully we're trying to also get someone to sponsor a Srimad Bhagavatam set, so we can give the 2 sets as a gift to the library, so it's accessible to the wider public. So getting back to the purport, Prabhupada mentions there chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. Who knows the chapter title of chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita? We are doing Bhakti Shastri, Sajjani? Yes. And that is the boss. So the knowledge of the Absolute. Thank you to Ikshwaku Prabhu. He is conducting the Bhakti Shastri here at New Govardhana. We are very fortunate to have such a esteemed teacher who is very humble and teaches by his example. So that chapter is a knowledge of the Absolute, and Prabhupada mentions there the first sentence that in that chapter the laws of nature it's mentioned are so stringent that it is impossible for the living entity to surpass their enforcement. So chapter 7, text 14. Do you know the verse, Sajjani? Devi hi gunam. Yeah, so the gist of that verse is this material energy of mine is very difficult to overcome, but one who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, it's very easy to cross over. So yesterday it was mentioned just like a cow's hoof print. If we take, there's a big flood, so we can't cross over if there's a big flood, but if that water is contained in a tiny hoof print, that's compared to taking shelter of Krishna. The vast ocean is so difficult to cross over, but if that water is contained in a calf's hoof print, a baby cow, it's very easy to cross over. So that is the power of taking shelter of Krishna and his devotees, that this vast material ocean of the 3 modes of material nature, which is very difficult. The word here used by Prabhupada is stringent. Stringent is really emphasizing the great difficulty of crossing over this material nature. So we need to take shelter of Krishna and his representatives, and we are so fortunate that we have Srila Prabhupada, who has spread this message far and wide all over the world, has opened, there's many ISKCON centers all over the world, and preaching centers and yoga centers that are teaching this philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And this Bhagavad Gita, as it is written by Srila Prabhupada, is delivering many fallen souls even after he's left his physical body, his physical departure. He's still alive in his words and his instructions. And we are so fortunate because in the old days they didn't have all these books, but we have these books accessible at our fingertips, even on our devices. So when we stay in the association of devotees, then we get that taste to hear about Krishna and to chant his glories and to chant his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these material, the stringent material nature, it's very difficult. It's compared to, it says gunas, the 3 modes of material nature. So a guna is like a rope. It's very difficult. Prabhupada mentions in the 714 purport that if someone is tied with a rope, their hands and feet are tied with a rope. We can't free ourselves. We need to be freed by someone who is not tied up, who is not bound by the material laws of nature. So that's why the pure representatives of Krishna and our spiritual master and the ones who are following this process of Krishna consciousness, only they can free us from this material entanglement. And Prabhupada mentions there that the rules and regulations given in the Vedas are like, this is a manual. Just like if we go to a shop and we buy a machine or some gadget, then we have a manual that comes with it that instructs us how to assemble it and how to use it and what are the accessories of that machine. So this human machine, we've been awarded this human form of life after our sojourn in the material world, 8,400,000 species of life. So whatever consciousness one has developed, to that consciousness, that body one will attain. So this human form of life comes after so many lifetimes, 8,400,000 species of life. So it's very rare to get this human form of life. It's like attaining a diamond. But if we use that diamond to crack a nut on a stone, what is our understanding of that rare diamond? So we need to understand through this guide, this manual, the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, how to use this human machine, which is like compared to a diamond. The reason is that because in this other lower forms of life, lower not meaning that they are lesser than us, but lower in terms of consciousness, we understand that in the human consciousness we are able to inquire, who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with God, what is my purpose in this life. So we have this higher consciousness, whereas animal and other life, lower life forms, they don't inquire. Of course they have loving feelings towards their offspring, but they don't have that higher consciousness to inquire of higher duties and higher purposes in life. They just going on eating, sleeping, mating and defending. But this human form of life is, we have this opportunity to inquire of this. And then Prabhupada mentions there in this purport about the benefit of the Govardhana samskara. So it's just like maybe we can compare to this modern times. Sometimes there are movies that we might all have watched about angels and demons. And so if one gets just trying to see from that platform, if we don't have or haven't had experience with the Vedas or these ancient scriptures, even just understanding someone who has like angels, good qualities, and people who are like demons, they have lower natures, they're engaging in illicit activities, intoxication, killing, and all these lower natures. So just by understanding the difference between angels and demons, we can understand that if we cultivate these good qualities, divine qualities like angels, then we'll go back to God. So it's slightly, if not exactly the same, because heaven is just on a lower stage, and the Supreme Lord's abode is not on the material plane, whereas the heavenly plane is on a lower material plane. But just on that point, the benefit of Govardhana samskara, we would question that in this modern time where there's free mixing of boys and girls, how is that possible? So Prabhupada mentions I was doing a bit of research and it was mentioned there that I'm not sure which purport, I was trying to look for it, but Prabhupada mentions in one of his purports to his books that he could understand that when he went to the West, because in India or other traditional cultures, it's unheard of where men and women, they freely and loosely intermingle, because it's compared to butter and fire. Men are compared to butter, women are like fire. When butter and fire come in contact, then they melt, the butter will melt. So this consciousness of trying to enjoy the sex organs without the lawful marriage or going through some elevating consciousness to get to that stage is very degrading. So Prabhupada understood that, okay, I've come in the West and I see that they are freely mixing, they hug. So what to do? So Prabhupada adjusted the details, but he never compromised on the principles. And that's why he created this Brahmacharini ashram. So there's a letter he wrote to Jadurani in 1968 where he created this Brahmacharini ashram to give the ladies also an opportunity where they can also get training in this monk life of celibacy. So we see in Prabhupada's times, Prabhupada discipled, even like Ambika Mataji is here, there was that talking with the male and the female, but the understanding was that, okay, we are living in modern times, so we need to apply that to our inner life. We have this inner life of remaining pure, respecting the opposite sex or the gender of attraction, and understanding that they are spirit souls, servant of Krishna, and we are working together for a higher cause, assisting our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, in serving Lord Chaitanya and Krishna's mission. So they did talk and they did service together, but then they had that inner life, that inner purity. So externally they may be going on and doing these activities, but they're doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. So the key is the consciousness. Just like Prabhupada gives the example of two people, they go to a work and they're working in the same office, but one who is God conscious, Krishna conscious, he's using that money that he's earning in the work to buy food from the grocery store, and he has a car, he drives to the temple or another holy place to assist other devotees, and then he buys the food, cooks it for the pleasure of the Lord, offers it to the Lord, becomes sanctified food, and then honors that food and enjoys it as a gift or blessed food, prasadam from the Lord. Whereas someone who has that material consciousness or so-called demoniac consciousness, that mentality, they just go, oh, Friday night comes, I'm going out to party, going to the nightclub, engaging in intoxication and illicit sex. So it's not a matter of externals. Of course, externals do help, but it's the consciousness and that internal cultivation, and no one can judge that. That we need to have some personal integrity, how we are always doing things consciously. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What understanding is there behind this external ritual? I'm coming down, I'm bowing down. One devotee here was, during COVID, was initiated online, and then Indadumna Swami was mentioning he was initiating that devotee in the temple room, and we were all present, and it was a Zoom initiation, and he mentioned that when we're bowing down, we don't just go Jai and we stand up. We need to understand, why am I bowing down? I'm putting my head to the floor, showing my humility that I am a servant of God, I'm a servant of Krishna, I am a servant of Srila Prabhupada, of these great sages and teachers who are guiding us on the spiritual path so we can get out of this material world and go back to the spiritual world where we live eternally. We don't suffer. We don't have birth, death, old age, and disease. So Prabhupada also adjusted many details, but he never compromised on the principles. Just like in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 14.5, it mentions there how Prabhupada changed the details, but he didn't compromise the philosophy. So I'll just read that purport. It says there, sometimes members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, especially in the Western countries, find it difficult to approach people to distribute books because people are unfamiliar with the traditional saffron robes of the devotees. The devotees have therefore inquired whether they can wear European and American dress before the general public. From the instructions given to King Prataparudra by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, we can understand that we may change our dress in any way to facilitate our service. When our members change their dress to meet the public or to introduce our books, they are not breaking the devotional principles. The real principle is to spread this Krishna consciousness movement, and if one has to change into regular Western dress for this purpose, there should be no objection. So from there we can see that it's the consciousness, that internal life is the key factor. Of course, externally it does help, just like example is a policeman. So if a policeman is in his uniform, he knows that everyone's watching him and he will act according to what the guidelines are, enforcing law and order, making sure everyone is safe. But when the policeman is out of his uniform and he has some personal integrity, and people may not know that he is a policeman, he's still going to act because he's acting on that internal life, that consciousness of divine qualities, not demoniac, giving into the material lower natures, the demoniac mentality, the modes of passion and ignorance. So yes, the externals do help, and Prabhupada is so merciful. He's given us the morning program. We wear tilak, we wear the sari, we doing many activities. But these external rituals are, if we get caught up just in the external rituals and then not always consciously remembering why we are doing what we are doing, then what's the point? It's like in Nectar of Instructions, it's called niyamagraha. So following the rules and niyam agraha. There's niyam agraha and niyam agraha. So following the rules and regulations just for the purpose of following them, but not understanding the principle or the reasoning behind it. So yes, the benefit is there of the externals, but we need to apply the internal understanding. That's the most important factor. And another point that Prabhupada mentions in today's purport is that the 4 Kumaras were the only ones who were not seized by fear. And we may question why. Why were they not fearful? So we understand from the previous verse is because they inquired from a bona fide authority, Lord Brahma. He is an authorized source of the reason behind why these ill omens, this signs, this evil signs were coming. And that was because we understand from the ancient Vedic text that when it's the time of annihilation, the end of the world, then there's many evil signs that come. There's rain, shower of fire, and volcanic eruptions, and floods, and so many bad things. So that material nature is responding to the lower demoniac mentality of people destroying Mother Earth. So that accumulation of that bad karmic activity is coming out in the form of material punishment by the material nature. So they were not fearful, they were not seized by fear. But we can see that even if that for us, even after the reason is because they understood the higher ultimate plan of Krishna. Hare Krishna, welcome. So the higher plan of Krishna, they understood that they fell down, and there's obviously that's a pastime that was mentioned also in the previous verses, and we won't go into that so much now. So for how does that apply to us as aspiring devotees living in the times now? Because we are seeing many ill omens. We recently had the COVID, and everyone experienced it. We were isolated from everyone we loved, and we were locked down at home. Some people who were living in flats, they couldn't even go out in nature. So that suffering is going on right now in the material world. Suffering also from our own minds and from the minds of others, Adi Bhautik, and then we have the Adidevic and Adhyatmic sufferings in this world. But we understand that when we are trying to serve Krishna as aspiring devotees, when we understand these ancient Vedic texts, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, we understand that this material world is a place of suffering, but there's also beauty there when we see it in connection with Krishna. So we can't avoid suffering. Even God-conscious people, we hear that they suffer, their loved ones suffer, but we don't blame God, we don't blame Krishna, because we understand that Krishna is just minimizing our suffering in the material world. Actually, we were due a lot more, but because we have taken shelter of him, he has minimized our suffering. Just like the example that Prabhupada gives, the fan is spinning. Our karmic reaction is like a spinning fan. When we turn off the fan, it's still slightly spinning. That's the residue effect, so a very minimized reaction of the suffering, karmic reaction. So when there's evil signs, just like in Bhagavad Gita in 8:27, chapter 8 is about Bhakti Shastri students, Sajani and Julan and Prabhu. Chapter 8, yes, attaining the Supreme. So chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is attaining the Supreme. So it's teaching us how to die. So we are living in the world, and we need to understand from this manual, the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Srimad Bhagavatam, how to live in the world. And then when we live in the world according to the instructions of the Vedas, the scriptures, we also learn how to cultivate our consciousness and how to die also in Krishna consciousness, because all of us are going to die. None of us are, that is a given, whether we live in a first world country like Australia where there's a lot of comforts, or we live in a third world country where there is suffering. No one can escape death. So it's advised there in chapter 8, text 27, Prabhupada mentions there that for a devotee, even if he dies at an inauspicious time or an auspicious time, he's not worried. All he's concerned about is serving the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And it's mentioned there, Prabhupada says, that a devotee firmly established in Krishna consciousness who chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is actually established in Yoga Yukta, in the real yoga or connection with the Lord. And they further on in that same purport of 827, Prabhupada mentions there that Rupa Goswami advises that one should be unattached in the material world and that all affairs should be steeped in Krishna consciousness. Because by devotional service, a devotee's passage to the Supreme Abode is guaranteed. So that is the consciousness of the four Kumaras. They were not fearful because they understood Krishna's higher plan of these evil omens that were appearing. And there it's mentioned there that one should be unattached in the material world. So one may question that, does that mean I should be detached from everyone, not show any loving affection? No, we see even devotees' lives, there's loving affection, they have their children. Like we have here Krishna Bhavana, and her husband Devagora Hari Prabhu, they're always there with their children and they have loving exchanges. So it's not that when one takes up Krishna consciousness that they become detached from that loving affection. Here Prabhupada's mentioned to become unattached in the material world is understanding that everything in the material world is for the pleasure of Krishna. My children, my husband and wife, everyone is there as a servant of Krishna, and they may be given in my care to assist them to get out of this material world as much as we can, and also try to elevate and purify our own consciousness. So just coming back to that point of the benefit of Garbhadan Samskara, in the Vedas it talks about when a husband and wife who are lawfully married, they want to have children, and if they want to have God-conscious children, they need to do some certain ceremonies to purify their consciousness so that they can have children that have divine or godly qualities, who are kind, compassionate. These are eternal values all over the world. It's not just in the Vedas. In every civilization, these eternal truths are there. So how do we apply that? Because we seen sometimes that even some disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they may not have, their parents may not have done this ceremony, but they became God consciousness. So there's no, one shouldn't become hopeless. Of course, there is great benefit, and if we have the knowledge, we need to apply that knowledge of Garbhadan Samskara. But we shouldn't become despondent, because we see the elevated consciousness of devotees like Srila Prabhupada's disciples like Ambika Mataji, Vaisheshika Prabhu. We have so many devotees around who are so kind, compassionate, who are following this Krishna consciousness and giving this knowledge to others. So then that factor comes in of nature and nurture. So even though one is not starting off, doesn't have a good start in life, but if one comes in contact with these sacred books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita as it is, comes in contact with Srila Prabhupada and his followers, then their devotional life has started. And one has to cultivate. So one is born with that nature. But when one comes is nurtured with good qualities, just like at school, I used to teach at the Gurukul at the Hare Krishna school here on the farm. Then we have also sometimes children, they may not have had good experience at home, and they not very well behaved. But then the teacher, who is also following these godly qualities, nurtures the child, then they change. Just like Prabhupada says there, that if one associates with a drunkard, one will become a drunkard. So if one associates with someone who has divine qualities, godly qualities, who is trying to please Krishna, then one will also automatically develop these higher qualities of Krishna consciousness. So we shouldn't become despondent. We always have a choice. But also at the same time, we see sometimes those who are born of divine qualities, they become demoniac, of demoniac mentality. So we always, in this material world, there's so much bad influences. We have this, like Julian and Sajani spiritual master, Kadamba Kanana Swami says, we have Maya in our pockets. We have our phones, and they can be used for a higher purpose, or they can be used for lower purpose. So no matter where we are in our spiritual practice, whether we've been practicing for 30, 40 years, or we are new beginning, this allurement, or this pulling down, and this covering over of the material energy of Maya is so strong. We always need to constantly engage our free will and our choice to choose Krishna. Always have Maya, the lower nature, and we always have Krishna. So we always constantly navigating, constantly choosing, whether I choose to go in the lower natures, mode of ignorance and passion, or I choose Krishna. And it's a constant, it doesn't have to be a constant struggle. But as we keep strengthening, just like the example that some speakers give, like the weightlifter, he goes to the gym and he's lifting weights. So we shouldn't artificially try to jump over. We should go understand our nature and gradually. So the weightlifter is lifting smaller weights, and then gradually over time he's able to lift more weights, and then it becomes so easy for him. So it doesn't have to be a struggle, but one has to be honest and have integrity and understand, because I want to go in for the long haul. I don't want to just jump and then fall down. Just like S.P. Keshava Swami, he talks about life quakes. So if there's a building and the foundation is not strong, and there's a tiny earthquake on the Richter scale, it's a very low scale, that building's going to come crashing down, even if it's the highest skyscraper, because the foundation is not strong. So that's why we need to be honest with ourselves. We look at other devotees for inspiration, but we need to see, where am I at? How can I build my foundation strong, so that I am building it gradually? Because we're all going to get there. It's not a rat race like in the material world. We need to build our strong foundation because we all have different conditioning, different life experiences, some different traumas that we're dealing with, but we always keep Krishna in the center and we follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions, and then we'll all get there. We'll all eventually, in some lifetime, go back home, back to the spiritual world, where we'll live eternally, and we won't come back to this material world where we suffer. So I'll read the purport, the translation again. Marking these and many other omens of evil times, everyone but the 4 sage sons of Brahma, who were aware of the fall of Jaya and Vijaya and of their births as deities' sons, was seized with fear. They did not know the secrets of these portents and thought that the dissolution of the universe was at hand. So we need to understand the secret of the Lord, is that we are put in this material world. We are trying to enjoy separately from Krishna, but by some good fortune we have come in contact with Srila Prabhupada and his followers, so we understand the secret. Now we need to apply this secret in our lives so we can get out of the material world. So I'll end there if anyone has any questions, comments, corrections. Oh, thank you. I'm just trying to repeat, and hopefully what I'm saying I'll be able to apply it myself. So thank you. Sajani? Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So any comments, or if you want to share any realizations you had from hearing Prabhupada's purport in your own life that may help someone else? Yes. Do you want to use this mic?
Related to the portents of like misfortune, because they're actually, the demigods are actually making those, right? The demigods themselves are the ones that are making, like, the natural things happen. So it seems like they're disturbed, so they're doing it. It's not just like it's just happening and they're disturbed because it's happening. But the demigods, right, they're causing. The demigods, nothing happens without the control of a person, right? So the portents are being caused by the demigods, but the demigods themselves are disturbed. So is that that's sort of a dichotomy, right? That's a...
My understanding is that the demigods are agents of the Lord, just like the government. So Krishna is the supreme, the king or the government, and the ministers are the demigods. So the demigods are in charge of the rain and the sun. So when we have evil omens, evil signs like showers of fire or things like that, they are doing it, as you said, there is a sanction behind it, but the ultimate sanctioner is Krishna. So they are they're not acting independently, but just like a teacher at school, a teacher has to correct the student who is not following. So the result will be according to the consciousness. So if we, and then the good students will be exempt from that suffering because they are not being corrected. But even though in the mature world we can't escape all the suffering, but the consciousness, understanding that there's a reason why it's happening. So what I understand is that they are the ministers, but they are acting under the supreme agency of the Lord. Yeah. Ambika Mataji.
Thank you. It was a very nice class, Vaisnavi Prabhu. You were asking like any comments about our experience. So I just wanted to say regarding Govardhana Sanskar, of course we were first generation and, we just followed because Srila Prabhupada said that we should do that. So then that's what we did. And then the children, because it was very, it kind of insular, they didn't have a full support, so they were like timid about their spiritual life. But now, I can see that with the grandchildren, they're so very spontaneously devotional from such a small age, and it's kind of like, for me, it's just mind-blowing because, being just a contaminated schlep from the material world, and then seeing these beautiful grandchildren that have got such strong devotional desires, at such a young age, all you can say is it really, really works. It's just, the proof of the pudding is there.